Hi everyone, this is Kyle, and I'm going to dive just a little further into The Witcher show and why I think The Witcher is essentially dead at this point. I've got a couple of articles here. I got a few articles here pulled up. I'm mainly going to be reading this one article here from ScreenRant.com. This article is from, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now. The article is titled, Henry Cavill Jumps Ship from The Witcher at the Perfect Time. Henry Cavill's departure from The Witcher bodes poorly for Season 4. Yeah, you bet it does. And the future of the series, but it may be a good thing for the actor's Geralt. So it starts. Henry Cavill's departure from The Witcher ahead of Season 4 has fans feeling pessimistic about the Netflix's show's future, but the actor may have jumped ship at exactly the right time. Cavill announced his plans to leave The Witcher in October 2022, confirming that Season 3 would mark his final appearance as the broody but lovable Geralt of Rivia. Liam Hemsworth will replace him in future outings, raising questions about whether the Netflix series can truly move forward without Cavill at the helm. After all, lead changes so late in the game don't typically work so well. I mean, I have no idea how well Liam Hemsworth will do as The Witcher. I mean, he might do well, but we know that Henry Cavill did great as The Witcher, and we know how much he loved the stories. We know how dedicated he was, and fans really appreciated Henry Cavill for that. And, he cared deeply about the story. He cared deeply about sticking true to the story and honoring the stories. And, the people in the writers group, they clearly did not care about staying true to the stories. And, as a result, Henry Cavill left. Cavill's been lauded as the perfect actor to portray Geralt of Rivia, and his passion for the Witcher franchise made him an ideal fit for the show. Sadly, scheduling conflicts are why Cavill is leaving The Witcher after Season 3? What? Though some rumors suggest he was unhappy with the direction the writers were taking. Okay, no. I mean, if you look at some interviews of Henry Cavill, I mean, there are hints in there that he wanted them to stay true to the source material, and they were not doing that, and that's the real reason why he left. Now, in this claim that scheduling conflicts are why Cavill's leaving The Witcher, if Henry Cavill is the enormous fan of The Witcher that we all know that he is, why would he leave that show because of scheduling conflicts? If you love a character as much as Henry Cavill loves Geralt of Rivia, and if you love a story as much as Henry Cavill loves The Witcher, you're not going to just leave that show because you have other projects that you're working on. If you love the show that much, if anything, you're going to be leaving other projects because you're working on The Witcher. This claim to me does not hold up at all. The article goes on. Such reports speak to a bigger problem the fantasy series is having, as its quality has declined significantly since The Witcher Season 1. With that in mind, Henry Cavill may be getting out at the right time, even if his exit seems likely to escalate the issue further. And so the headline here, The Witcher Season 3 is a downward turn for the show, but Henry Cavill is still great. Yeah, I mean, third season of The Witcher was very badly received, I know that. Viewership dropped during The Witcher Season 3, and the 60% decline cannot be attributed to Cavill's departure alone. Although some fans undoubtedly gave up on the show after learning of the actor's exit. Yeah. The fantasy series faced other problems during its recent run. The Witcher Season 2 was divisive on its own, with the sophomore outing diverging from Andrzej Sapkowski's books and ignoring some of the biggest problems from Season 1. Although The Witcher Season 2 received good Rotten Tomatoes reviews from critics, general audiences trashed the second batch of episodes for failing to live up to the source material and the better-liked first season. And this brings up another point. Now, the first season of The Witcher, generally speaking, it was well received, but as time went on, get to Season 2, interest drops, or people didn't like Season 2 as much, and then Season 3, people did not like Season 3 for the most part at all. But this article comments Season 2 received good reviews from critics, from esteemed professional critics. The elites of society. Well, I don't know about that. That might be a little too strong a word, but, professional critics rather than audiences. I mean, generally speaking, how many times have we seen instances where a movie comes out, show comes out, and, professional movie critics or TV critics or whatever, they like the show, but audiences hate it? It usually takes place, by the way, when the people working on that show or movie make certain changes to it. Like, for example, Rings of Power from Amazon. I mean, what Amazon did with Tolkien's work was absolutely unforgivable. I haven't really talked about it that much on here, but yeah, I am as pissed off as a lot of other Tolkien fans out there are. And frankly, we all knew Amazon was going to ruin it from the get-go. I mean, we saw it coming, years in advance. The Last Jedi, Rotten Tomatoes, critics really liked The Last Jedi, but fans hated it. I mean, these are just a couple examples. And then you have it the other way around, like the recent Super Mario Brothers movie. Critics generally did not really like that movie that much, whereas audiences, they love the movie. I mean, what do we have in common here with the shows or movies that critics generally like and audiences don't like? What's the common trait about them? They usually end up deviating from the story. They usually get woke, as we call it. And critics, I say all the time, people in Hollywood, they are not entertainers, they are activists. They are woke activists, they are feminist activists, they are leftist activists. They obsess over stuff like identity politics, they obsess over girl power, things like that. They're trying to inject that into basically everything that they get their hands on, whether it actually matches the original story or not. But professional movie critics, they are basically the exact same as people in Hollywood. And when they review movies, when they review shows, a lot of times they review it based on how much does it cater to their ideology, their woke ideology, their left-wing ideology, their feminist ideology. And shows like Amazon's Rings of Power, they took the feminine character of Galadriel, they turned her into your modern-day stereotypical strong woman, girl boss queen. They made her extremely unlikable. They made her kind of insufferable. Now, audiences overwhelmingly hated her, but critics, they liked what Amazon did with Lord of the Rings. And critics, I'll add, that are not really actual fans of Tolkien's work, but actual fans of Tolkien's work, they recognize that show fundamentally was not Tolkien. And with The Witcher right here, yeah, you could say it's the same thing. Fans of The Witcher are recognizing that they are not sticking to the actual Witcher story at all. And then, you go on the other hand, a movie like Super Mario that came out recently. That movie, it didn't put any messages into it really at all. It didn't have any woke nonsense in there, any woke lunacy or any of that sort of stuff. It was just a fun, family-friendly movie. But professional critics, it did not cater to their ideology, and so they generally did not like it. While audiences, generally speaking, they love the movie. Yeah, professional critics, they don't really have any credibility nowadays. The audience opinion is what matters. Alright, but I'll continue. This review trend continued with The Witcher Season 3, which faced even harsher criticisms than its predecessor. It sure did. Its audience reviews on Rotten Tomatoes accused the new episodes of being messy and a massive departure from the books. If the books are what you're basing it on, why would you not stick to the books? That is your source material, that is your script, that is what you're basing your show on. Why would you deviate from it? The Witcher books, as they were written, gained a ton of fans. When people want to see an adaptation, they want to see that story as it was written. Or as Henry Cavill put it, he believes, don't fix something that isn't broken, and the Witcher stories are not broken. So yeah, why would you depart from the books? Its heavier focus on Ciri didn't go over so well with viewers, even if the series is ultimately building to a greater destiny for the character. Well, is Ciri the main character, though, of The Witcher? Those of you who are huge fans of The Witcher, me, I'm more of a Tolkien person, but those of you that are huge fans of The Witcher, is Ciri the main character of The Witcher, or is it Geralt of Rivia? If it's Geralt of Rivia, then Henry Cavill's character here should be the main focus. Such problems are only poised to get worse, especially with a new Geralt in town. However, it's unlikely the old version of the character could have saved The Witcher after 2 flops in a row. I think Henry Cavill recognized that the ship was sinking and he jumped ship. He recognized that they have no intention of honoring the story, and so he's like, no, I'm not going to be a part of that. And in all honesty, I commend him for doing that. And if The Witcher loses any more fans as a result of Henry Cavill leaving, well, that's Netflix's problem. That's Lauren Histrich's problem. They did not respect the source material, and they did this to themselves. The Witcher Season 4 probably wouldn't turn things around even if Cavill stayed. Given that The Witcher has gotten progressively worse reviews over time, it seems unlikely that Season 4 would have turned things around even if Cavill remained in the lead role. There's no denying that Cavill's exit contributed to Season 3's declining viewership, but he alone was unlikely to bring the show back to its former glory. Yeah, he's the only one there that seemed to care about about the actual show. He's the only one there that seemed to actually be a fan of the stories. And now he's gone. Some of the main complaints about The Witcher's recent outings involve the focus being taken off of Geralt. I mean, if he's the main character, why would he not be the main focus? If the Netflix series continued on the same path, Cavill might not have played a big enough part to turn things around in any significant way. Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, now I'm just going to skim through a few other different articles that I pulled up here. I've showed this one at least once, maybe twice before. The Witcher former writer recalls staff actively mocking the source material. I'm not going to read the article at all, but you had one person on the team saying that the other writers on there, they did not like The Witcher at all. They were routinely making fun of it. I mean, why the hell would you have people like that working on your team? I mean, if you're going to be making a movie or a TV show based on a book series, the people who are working on that project need to be people who love those books. Period, end of discussion, because if the people love those books, those people are going to be far more likely to show respect for those books. Now, I'm here on Twitter.com here. This is Lauren Hisrich. Wasn't she the showrunner? And there's one quote she says here, I believe I covered in detail why diverse voices are important in TV, but there's another part of this tweet that is worth discussing. When writing an adaptation, are the best writers always the ones most familiar with the world? Yes, they are. And we have this article here from RedanianIntelligence.com. The Witcher showrunner on the writing staff, I specifically did not seek out 10 Sapkowski scholars. Why? Why would you not seek out people that are actually experts on the story? I mean, I guess Amazon at least hired Tom Shippey for a little period before they fired him. I mean, we were told that Tom Shippey was fired because he gave some unsanctioned interview to some magazine or wherever. But the rumor is that he was actually fired because he was routinely telling Amazon that they were polluting the lore. And they absolutely did pollute the lore of Tolkien's world. So yeah, that rumor is much more believable. But there's a few bullet points down here for Lauren Hisrich's criteria for when she's hiring writers. Let's read a few of them. So it starts, when hiring writers for The Witchers, there were several factors I looked at to make sure that we were getting the best possible team in no particular order. Number one, or first bullet point, a spectrum of writing experience, people who have been at it for 20 years and those who were brand new. It's part of my job to mentor the next generation of writers. What kind of advice are you giving them though? Just as I was once trained. But I also need people who know television structure and production inside and out well. Okay, I mean that one's reasonable, I think. You want to have at least some TV experts. Alright, second one. A spectrum of life experience. This is where diversity comes in. There's a buzzword. A POC, person of color, has different experiences than a white person, men different than women, straight different than gay, add in immigrants, adoptees, parents, the list goes on. Varied life experiences make the show richer. Wait, what? You have the books. You stick to the books. It's not that complicated. A spectrum of genre experience. Everyone had to read and love the books, but we need more than hardcore fantasy nerds. I hired writers with experience in horror, action, romance, politics. The Witcher is many things. There's only one Sapkowski who's good at them all. Again, you just hire fans of the books, and then when you're writing your show, you stick to the books. It's not that complicated. And then the last two, I don't know if I can say this word on here. There's not a spectrum here. Don't be a... I don't know if I should say this word or not. I'm not going to risk it. And finally, telling the writers as defined by me, I read writers blind without their names first. Yeah. I'm not going to bother with the rest of that. Now, I got another article here from Bonding into Comics. I won't read the whole thing, but this is from, well, it's really from over a year and a half ago, January 2022. Netflix writer and producer Lauren Hisrich says she's the strong, independent woman you're looking to blame for The Witcher's second season. So I guess she was on Twitter.com and she got into an argument with Jeremy from The Quartering. That guy's a great channel, by the way, The Quartering. He covers a lot of stuff real well on there. I mean, he does some entertainment, but he does a lot of like tech stuff and news like that. But this right here is what started the whole thing. He says, Henry Cavill has been totally wasted on The Witcher. Geralt continues to play second or third fiddle on his own show because, well, Netflix. The writers are so obsessed to force the strong, independent women who don't need no man, they ignore why most of us wanted to watch. Yeah, they've been doing this in a lot of a lot of shows and movies where, you know, if the main character is a guy, we're going to change it. We're going to focus more on the female characters in that story, and we're going to turn them into quote-unquote strong women. Yeah, I mean, when people tune in to watch The Witcher, they wanted to see Henry Cavill play as Geralt of Rivia. Alright, so the coring goes on, don't get me wrong, I like Yen, etc., but they have way too much screen time. Season 2 was a slight improvement from Season 1, but not enough to make me really anticipate Season 3 in a meaningful way. Well, I mean, granted, I think audiences generally like the first season better than the second season, but then we have Lauren Hissrich coming in. Actually, I'm the strong, independent woman you're looking to blame for your sadness. Alright, and then we have another tweet here from Critical Drinker. That's another great channel, commenting on Hissrich being the strong, independent woman you're looking to blame. You're also the person who wanted to throw a cheap joke into the Roach death scene, and it was only Henry Cavill who persuaded you, a professional writer. What a terrible idea that was. I don't think you have the whole lot to boast about right now. And it says here, Hissrich admits that when she first wrote the Roach death scene, her instinct was to puncture the moment with a bit of meta-comedy. Henry Cavill pushed for a more heartfelt moment, and eventually Hissrich caved, which she said was ultimately the right call. It says down here, Henry was so unhappy with the line she told the news outlet. Finally, I said, you know what? You come up with something, I trust you. You know the source material well. You know the book so well. You don't even have to pitch it to me. And they came back the next day with a beautiful speech. That's at the end of Sword of Destiny, when Geralt is facing death, and it's such a pitch-perfect moment. You know, I wonder how good the Witcher show would have been if Henry Cavill was the one writing it. And playing Geralt, of course. I have a feeling fans would have liked it a lot better, even if this guy has zero experience writing. Or at least I don't think he has any experience writing. Does Henry Cavill have any experience writing anything? I don't know, you tell me. Maybe I'd have to look that up at some point. And then she responds to Critical Drinker, this has blown up. Here's what was scripted in homage to the fact that a previous Roach had existed and another one will exist soon. It's hardly a joke. Henry wanted a longer, more emotional moment, which I was more than happy to give him. Don't create drama where none exists. So anyway, she's fighting with fans. It's never a good sign when people working on a show are fighting with the fans. And here we have a few more things that she's arguing with fans on Twitter.com. And then I have one more headline here that I'll give you, also from Bounding into Comics. Netflix's The Witcher EP Tomek Baginski says series made simplifications to the source material primarily because American audiences would not grasp a higher level of nuance and complexity. Yeah, people, they love this word right here, complex. I swear, modern writers love that word. But anyway, he's essentially calling Americans stupid, and he's using that as justification for making changes in the show. But yeah, I mean, we see a bit of a pattern here, and we've seen a pattern in Hollywood over the last, I don't know, 10, 15, whatever years of people working on writing and producing shows or movies. They do not respect the actual stories they are adapting. When they adapt stories, they basically set out to change them. And The Witcher here is just another example of this. I mean, Star Wars is an example of it. Star Trek, Lord of the Rings. I mean, there are a ton of other examples out there. I mean, Netflix had one person here, essentially one person working on The Witcher who was actually a fan of the source material. I mean, he was probably the only reason why the show was actually decent at all to begin with. But the other people on the show, they did not have any respect for the stories, and I think Henry Cavill, he saw that and decided, alright, I'm going to leave. And that probably took a lot for him to do that, because we know he's a huge fan of The Witcher, we know he's a huge fan of Geralt of Rivia, and audiences, they thought he did great playing Geralt, and now he's gone. I mean, Henry Cavill was really the one person keeping The Witcher show alive, and now that he's gone, you could say The Witcher, it's dead now. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this video changed your life. If it did, if you consider hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Take care until then.